I'm here with Shadow Fox. She's a unique individual who is an author, a spiritual and intuitive energy worker, and she's had two near-death experiences, one at age 3 and one at age 6, but she still has vivid memories of both of those near-death experiences. How are you today, Shadow Fox?
Oh, I am well, thank you. It's really a great honor to be here. Thank you for the opportunity.
Well, we're growing the channel, and you're one of the first people I'm interviewing. And I've had a lot of wonderful interviews with a lot of amazing people, and everyone's got like a different piece of the puzzle to share.
Yeah.
And so, as a host, we're just putting all those puzzle pieces together and helping people get answers to life's questions and afterlife questions, right? So,
Great. Well, I hope I can be of assistance.
let's dive right in. Can you share with us whichever one you'd prefer? If you only have time to talk about one of them, or if we have time for both, that's great.
Okay, yeah, I'll talk about the first one, because it did happen at 3. And one of the things that's like that I feel there in speaking about this or bringing this forward, there's an aspect that seems very, very sacred that sometimes in describing or bringing um, experiences like this forward, there's almost a reverence to it. It
Hmm.
really took me, oh goodness, most of my life to actually start bringing this forward. It was about maybe 6 years ago, where spirit really started saying it's about time you start kind of talking about it. So literally, this really is the first time, like on camera. I host space journey within space on X, and I have spoken about it. But this is the first time that I'm actually doing it in this platform. So thank you. Um, when I was 3, I had gotten very, very sick. Um, there was a incident before I actually had the near death experience. We were getting ready to move. We had a lodge, a summer lodge, and we would go there for the summer. And my mother was packing the kitchen up because we were going back home. My brothers had school. And so I went to sit out on the front stoop. Now, mind you, at 3 years old, I really did communicate with other beings, such as um, angels. That's kind of what I viewed them as. And so I would speak with them. Well, this was the very first time where I actually saw something that was actually materialized. I sat out on the front stoop. I was 3, and I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden, this whoosh, like a breeze. And before me stood this beautiful, beautiful being. I mean, it had to have been 16, 18 foot tall. I mean, literally, it was like a giant to me. I mean, my neck stood straight up trying to see how big it was. It kind of looked like it was gold, radiating iridescence. You could see through it. Kind of reminded me of those water beings in the abyss. Okay, it's exactly what it looked like. And this beautiful being had come and had addressed me and said that there's a message that to tell your mother. And the message was, everything is going to be okay and you are all loved. And so I walk into the kitchen and I'm like, Ma, I got to tell you, Bean came and, and I'm all excited and I'm trying to tell her, and I'm telling her I'm Miss Sum Sum. And yeah, it was like really, really, really kind of weird. And so I told her the message.
The angel gave you a special name, and you
Well,
mispronounced it as a little child.
it was more of a title.
Oh,
In our culture, everyone was anyone older. Okay, I mean, come on, I'm 3.
uh-huh.
Everything was, Mr. or Mrs., aunt or uncle, so there was a title. And when she spoke to me, it had that feeling. It was a title. And so when I explained it to my mother, I put Miss in front of it.
Oh,
So it was a title. And that's how she addressed me. It was just a feeling. It's a feeling. So anyway, fast forward, in December, I had gotten very, very, very sick. Very. And my mother was concerned. My father was working. And so she took me to the hospital in a taxi. And we get there. They ended up admitting me. Now, here I am, 3 years old, and they put me in this crib. It actually had metal bars on the top and metal bars down the side, and they had this plastic thing that it was an oxygen tent, really. But they had to keep me confined. So yeah, I'm in this cage and I'm asking my mother, what did I do wrong? Why am I in jail? I couldn't wrap my head around it. And so she just says, you're not in jail. You're here. We're going to make you feel better. And she had given me a half a stick of juicy fruit gum. I'll never forget it. I remember that taste. And then all of a sudden I didn't feel good. I mean, I felt like I was going to pass. As an adult, I recognize it, that I was going to pass out. And just then the nurse had come in and she was going to take my temperature. So she actually had gotten the gum out of my mouth because I laid on the bed. And then all of a sudden I'm aware that the crib is actually moving very quickly, fast, like down a hallway, like super, super fast. You can see the lights overhead. And we enter into this green room. Now, mind you, I'm not out. I'm not unconscious. I'm just in la la land right now. So I'm kind of aware of what's going on. I can see the room. I can see it's green. And they had this tub. It looked like one of the cattle troughs. It really did. It was big and metal, and I can see they're filling this tub with water and ice and everything. And all of a sudden, it's like right then and there, I think that's when I kind of really did pass out, really lost that consciousness. I had not left my body yet. But I could see, I was aware that they were taking this diaper off, I was very indignant. But I think what they were trying to do was get a urine sample. And so the nurses are ripping that off. And the moment they put me into that water, it hurt. The shock to the system. And then all of a sudden, I'm up in the top of this room and I'm looking down. I know, have left my body, and I'm seeing the medical team. There was a doctor there, bald, which I found interesting. And the nurses, and they were trying to bathe my head with the water to cool my brain. And I'm watching all this happen, and I'm seeing the room, and I'm seeing the commotion. But what ended up happening is I kind of sensed this, and I looked, and there were 4 guides. They were dressed. Initially, I kind of thought they were black robes, but they were so dark blue that they were black, but they weren't. They were just this beautiful. There's not a color here that really expresses this. In the robes, there was no stitching in it. It was like it was stitched with light, and they each had a a belt, not a belt, but like a rope as a belt, but it was energy. It wasn't. It was etheric, and so I'm standing there, and out of the 4, only one spoke to me.
hmm.
And he looks at me and he says to me, he says, "Little one, are you ready?" And I looked at him and put my hands on my hips. I'm looking up like this. I'm not little. just
Oh,
defiant.
so you were outside of your 3-year-old body. So was it like your consciousness was more grown up now or more adult or
No, this was me as that child just being defiant and,
yeah.
no, no, I'm not little, you know. And what was really, I found amazing, because the guy looked and this beautiful smile and love just emanated from him. And he says, it's like, honey, it's just a term of endearment. Now, I didn't know what endearment was, but immediately I was made to feel what that was, like somebody calling you sweetheart, a little nickname or something. And so I just immediately trusted, and I raised my hand. He took my hand. And the moment he did, we're in this golden field. I mean, it was like a wheat in the grass. It was just the movement. There was nothing but absolute unison. It again, sometimes trying to express these things, there really are no words. But the wheat moved, and the guy just kind of extended his hand out, and as it did, it was like a path opened, so we wouldn't harm the wheat as we walked on it. And so we're walking, and I happen to look over to my left, and there was this beautiful, beautiful tree. Oh, it was one of the most magnificent trees I had ever seen in my entire life. Um, and the guide says to me, we'll return. What? Wait, like don't. The idea was don't look upon the tree yet. And so we continued on, and all of a sudden, we came to this beautiful lake, and this lake was crystal, just crystalline. There was, like here on Earth, it's like the hues of blue or whatever. No, it was clear, like white. The guide says, well, why don't you go swimming? Now, to me, I couldn't swim, but it didn't matter it just didn't occur to me technically that I couldn't swim. So, okay, so here I am, 3 years old, let's go swimming. And so when I entered this body of water, it was kind of like the consistency of jello that had not yet set. It was much thicker, it had substance to it. And the moment I was in it, it was like just being revitalized in every single aspect. So you might even think, okay, here is, if it's the physical body that's a representation, then the physical body was getting the healing, so to speak. It was just revitalizing. There really are no words. It was just an absorption of energy, really. And so I'm swimming around. If I can swim, maybe I can go underwater. So I hold my breath, I go underwater. In that exact moment when I was submerged, my head was under the water. I had this feeling, and I was up on the bank, the shore, and I was standing with the guides. But I knew I was in the water. I know it sounds like an oxymoron. So it was like technically I was in both places at once with these guides. And we're looking out, and all of a sudden, up out of the water rises this beautiful being. I mean, it was shown to me that as like almost like a physical body, had like dark strawberry blonde hair, perfect in form, naked as a bird. Okay. I mean, just absolutely. I mean, my father was an artist. And so to see a figure of art almost is what I was looking at,
Hmm.
and radiating just this magnetic presence was beautiful to behold. And so I'm standing there, and then all of a sudden, she starts coming up on the shore. And as she came up onto the shore, there was an infusion, there was a melding. It was like my consciousness of being young, okay, child innocence, defiance, again, come on. When you really think about it and fast forward everything, there, as a child, I had to defy sometimes the status quo of how things were presented. So when that blending and immersion of this woman with ancient wisdom, like from mass lifetimes, or however you would like to consider it, there was a melding that I really wish there were words. The feeling was of completeness, knowingness, and purpose. There was, right afterwards, the guide had taken this this white robe, and placed it on me, and there was a golden belt made of light. And I knew that having that robe or being adorned with that robe was an honor. I didn't know at the time as a child how to interpret that. Even when I tried to review this experience, it has taken me a while to figure it out. Okay. So I now, as an adult, recognize that action. And so when we were standing there, the guide that spoke my ancient name. I'm not going to state it here. It is written like in Sanskrit. And when that happened, it was almost like an unleashing. It was a revelation and a complete understanding of everything and anything, all of energy, the universes. It was like total recall. And then we spoke, and I'm not going to necessarily share that. There's some stuff that I have yet to divulge. And I'm going to keep that. It was the conversations of moving forward, let's just say. And so we depart from the lake, and we're walking back down this field, and there was the tree. And I looked upon the tree, and I saw it with very, very different. I saw all the intricate parts of like the macabre. Truly, it was like I could see energy circles here, the interconnection from this to that to this, the above, the below, how all these parts interrelated like a spider's web.
So you saw Merkaba, which uses sacred geometry.
Absolutely.
In your 3-year-old mind, did you know what that was at the time, or did you learn that later and you just remembered what you saw?
Well, that part of the woman of wisdom is what carried that knowledge.
Oh.
And so I was a part of it. So technically, it was like, as a child, I could tune into that. I could tune into that other part. Like, here's my right hand, the ancient one. Here's the young one that doesn't, have any like life experience in this time frame, right? So here's this hand and this hand. The right hand and the left hand knew how to work together. If that makes a way to understand it, so I can tune in to that knowledge base at any given point in time. Wow. Just sometimes as a child, I didn't know what the heck I was tuning into, but there was a knowingness. There really was. There was that infusion. So I recognized all that, and we had gotten the guides took me back at a precipice. And he asks me a question because I had a choice. Do I care to come back after seeing everything, after recognizing, what my purpose and my mission is to bring forward? Do I still choose to stay here or to move forward? And I looked at him and said, this one will. And then all of a sudden, all as I remember is waking up in this crib, and the crib was up high, so I could see out that window, and it had snowed, and it was glistening and light, and it just was like all this massive beauty. It, and I'm looking out, and all of a sudden I recognized that there on my window, my brother had gotten special permission to paint Santa Claus, which we knew as Saint Nicholas. That's what I knew, Saint
Mm-hmm.
Nicholas. And so right then and there, I recognized that if Saint Nicholas was on my window, that was my sign that I was with the saints, so to speak. And one of the things, and I would like to speak about, is that in this experience, when I went over there, I don't necessarily bring it forward as the first thing that I talk about, but the energy of love, there's been other people who have had these experiences, and they're poetic in their expression of it. When I had gone over there, it was not a shock to my system. So I didn't step in and go, it feels like love. No, it was, like I said, when I first started, there was the blending, the harmony, the beauty, the rhythm. It was just an immersion thereof. And so I felt that love. I recognized it immediately, but it wasn't my focus. My focus was something of difference, much different. But all of the love, everything was there. It just wasn't foreign to me.
Hmm.
What was foreign to me was waking up here. Because when you feel that love over there, you go, oh my, are you kidding me? What the heck did I freaking sign up for? This one will, what I should have had a V8 or something, like, you got to be kidding me. So over there, everything seems to be much easier. It's like if you're looking at a scale, of it being difficult, 1 to 10. Oh, yeah, let's sign up for a number 18. We can do it. And you get here and you're going, can I have a 0.5?
Life here is like it's above a 10 on difficulty.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And so, again, it was one of those aspects. And when, um, when I did wake up and really become conscious, I couldn't speak. I lost the ability to speak. It's not that I forgot how. Words would get jumbled. Even to this day, I have difficulty like formulating questions. It's like, yeah, I can see and feel the words. I know the words, but try to pull them out and put them in a succinct way to formulate a question.
yeah.
Still to this day is difficult for me.
So did your family assume that you were mute or you just were never going to talk for a year or something? Or how did that go?
Well, my parents kind of, were asking the questions. They recognized, once in a while I might be able to say a word here or there, but I couldn't string words together like to say I'm hungry.
Wow.
Um,
How long did
I
that
I
last?
might say, I might be able to get eat out, but even when I was able to do that, I had a Brooklyn accent.
Oh.
It wasn't mine. I've never been to Brooklyn. I never heard anybody from Brooklyn. And my mother used to say, you have a Brooklyn accent. So when our family had gotten a new car, I was in kindergarten. I was actually embarrassed. They were sitting in kindergarten and you raise your hand for a show and tell or whatever. And we got a new car. And it was like, I still can't. I can't even do it now, but I was very embarrassed. And
So you were
so again,
literally speechless after your near-death experience.
yeah. So it wasn't something that I could tell anyone about my experience, but the difference is that I still had the ability to talk to the etheric realm, and
Ooh.
that's the energy of language. Of seriously, and so I spoke their language, so they were my counsel. That's I could talk. I was heard. Because seriously, if I came back here and tried to tell somebody that 3 years old for what I had seen, what the information that I carried back. Now, recognize I had to learn to live in this world. I had to learn to live that not everybody knows love. Not everybody is going to be kind or nice or sympathetic or empathetic, even
Oh
if
yeah.
any of it. The cruelty. I would, when I started talking and revealing certain things, I was made fun of. I was rejected. I was alienated. You get that herd mentality. This is how we learned it in religion, and this isn't it. And, all of this other aspect that is so cruel. And so it took a while to navigate and learn how to live in this world. So everything that I kind of retained, because even in the next episode that I had was revealing even more. That again, it's like, how do you apply how everything is connected or interconnected? You got to live life and figure it out, cause and effect. And that's really what I did most of my life, trying to apply, okay, well, what does this mean? If I do that, how do you create? How do you do this? How do you manifest? Um, Paying attention to your thoughts, paying attention to your feelings. Technically, at 3 years old, I don't think there's anything that I could have, my library of expertise at 3 years old, to be able to explain any of it. So, again, I think that was a part of saving grace for me. There was always something in the grand design. I would like to say that when you take a look and you study or you listen to other people who have had near-death experiences, I think whether they're people who they're researching this or that, I have yet um, to hear someone speak on this, because every single experience, no matter who it is, the the common denominator is a change in perception. It really is. So it doesn't matter that conscious awareness, if people go into an aspect and say they're very religious or a religious structure, um, many times they're going to see a religious structure. Okay, it's going to be something because it's something that they have in their core beliefs. Um, for me, again, it's just a change in perception. I don't care if you're an atheist and then you have an experience and then you come back and you have something. What is that? It's a change in that formal aspect of a perception. You can change the perception. You have an argument with a spouse, for instance, and all of a sudden they say one thing. You go, oh, yeah, I didn't think of it like that. You might have a point. Sorry.
So here's a question on that, because you're a 3-year-old, so you hadn't built up any biases yet, most likely, or you weren't jaded by life negative experiences. So did your perception change a lot from as a 3-year-old coming back from an NDE?
The perception that yes, what the
Wow.
perception was is how difficult it was to live in this world when people speak about love and everything else, and or they speak something and they don't do it. It's like that was a really difficult contention for me to navigate. It just is.
Yeah.
It really was, because and how long of a period of time that it took for something to manifest. For instance, somebody prayed for something or whatever. I when I came back at 3, it really was observing. It truly was. I couldn't express anything, so I just paid attention. I was a little nosy, I mean, I could literally, when I was young, my older brothers would get in trouble with something, and my father would come home, and I would like hear my parents speaking. I mean, I was sleeping. And so I would go into that room and pay attention to what they're saying. And yeah, I knew what kind of trouble my brothers were going to get, like, okay, well, I'm running down the hall early in the morning. Wake up, wake up. You're going to be shoveling stone today. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right. Get out of here, kid. And sure enough, then my father's footsteps came at 5:30 and 6 o'clock in the morning. Guess what? Here, take this stone pile, move it from here, move it over there.
That was their
So
punishment for the day. Wow.
yeah,
And
so no, it was like
you audibly heard
literally,
your parents
literally, I was
talk.
like a fly on a wall,
You audibly
and I
heard them
would
talking
listen.
about that, or you picked it up psychically? I
I
was
was
confused.
there.
Oh, okay.
No, like astral projection. No, seriously, it was like I was a fly on the
Oh,
wall. I was in the room with my parents when they're discussing what punishment was going to come forward. It
oh, yeah.
literally, I had that ability. So I mean, I could sit here right now and say my husband's in the other room. I can, and I'm right there. I could be anywhere. Because there's 3 different ways of working with that energy. You can call energy information to you. You can go there. Anyway,
Mm-hmm.
um, but yeah, no, I had that. I mean, my brothers, I would sit there when we're outside and doing things that they probably weren't supposed to, and I'd go in and kind of like sitting in the kitchen and telling my parents, guess what they're doing. I get them in trouble.
I bet they
And I
really
wasn't
liked
even
you.
there. I wasn't there. I wasn't privy to the conversation, but yes, I was. So as a child, there was a lot of mischief I did. I worked with this, I worked with that, and it's like I was learning those boundaries. I was learning, what I could do. Doesn't necessarily mean that as a child I really made really good choices sometimes, but I had to learn. And that's what I'm saying. I had to learn how to navigate within this structure of life and energy. And the hardest thing was knowing what was over there and what was not here but could be. And you talk, like reincarnation or anything like that, we're energy. When we die, it's consciousness that goes. And again, here's a perception. Once you can adapt to a different perception or see it or just entertain it or just question it, life unfolds before you. But we're so accustomed that here's the book, here's the instruction, this is how it's got to be, or, from school, from even our culture, our education, our families. It's like we're told how things are, but are they?
Mm-hmm.
We live in a field of energy. What do we know of it? I just like to say that
Mm-hmm.
um, NDEs, let's just say that it truly is and can be an eye opener. Not, and this is one of the things that even in expressing or speaking about this, there's so many people, oh, I just wish I could have one so I knew what you're talking about or anything else. And I think one of the major messages that I would like to say is that there's not a single person on this planet that has to go through a near-death experience to recognize and honor and look and seek those answers to your questions. Truly, you don't have to experience this to have your life change before you. And again, I'm going to go back. It is a change in perception. Common denominator. I don't care if you have a horrific one or you have a great one.
Wow.
Listen for that. When you're doing these interviews, listen for that common denominator.
Hmm.
And it is a shift and a change in energy, or it's the understanding thereof. Whether they speak of love, whether they speak of different beings, doesn't matter. It's
In your book, the vignette book, there's a little section about when you were with your dad in the car and you were passing a building that he explained it was an orphanage, and you had like a really strong emotional connection with that. Could you share a
I
little bit about that?
yeah, this one building always gave me, I mean, like the heebie-jeebies. Now, for 4 or 5 years, I mean, I was conscious of three. Um, Quite a few years had gone past, and we had driven past it a few times, and a lot of times there was a bunch of us in the car. So I never really had like the opportunity where I felt comfortable. Again, I had said before, many people would tease or say hurtful things. And sometimes it was my brothers too, my own family, other than my mom and my dad. And so um, there was an opportunity that presented itself. And my father and I were driving past this building, and I had the courage this time. And I was strong enough now. And I asked my father, what is that building? I mean, you, you could feel it's the radiating presence of just horror, fear, sometimes even hatred. And I couldn't understand what that building was. And it really, really bothered me. It scared me. And it was like going straight up the neck, you know?
Hmm.
Um, yeah. And so I asked him, and he says, it's an orphanage. I didn't know what an orphanage was. And so he had to explain it to me. And as he did, it was just, there was a resonant energy about that building. And in the vignette, there's a reason why that building was actually written about. I won't necessarily get into that because this that segment comes into dream time. Um, I would have I'm sorry, sometimes I do still get tongue tied. Prolific dreams and that prophecy and in all different capacities, vivid dreams. And in that story, I speak of that, and I leave it open ended for other people to decide what type of dream it was.
So I have a few general questions to ask because it kind of corroborates what I'm learning from other NDEers.
Yeah,
From your two experiences, do you have the general understanding or impression that we choose the lives that we're living, that we get to pick this body and this meat puppet or this persona when before
absolutely.
we get here, we actually choose all this?
Oh, absolutely. We choose that. We choose our parents. We choose the family members. We choose a specific time frame to be born, which would be more advantageous to us in certain constructs to learn. And we ourselves, as spiritual beings, we create in one form or another, whether we're aware of it or not. So it's not like, okay, we're going to do the blame game thing and none of that. But there are certain points of tension, crisis aspects that we agree to so that our spirit, can learn from that. We are here. When people ask, why am I here? What is my purpose? Um, Overall, as a general rule, um, our purpose here is to find expression. We come here, we find, we live our lives, we have experience. Okay, so we can have an experience of, say, somebody and something happens to us and we choose to be jealous, for instance. Somebody cheats on you. But in the overall broader aspect, we are here to find that expression. Are you going to express yourself as someone who is jealous, or someone who learns and can see ahead of time? Oh, yeah, it's a hot stove. Don't touch it without pot holder, for instance. So we set these crises up on not a conscious level, um, but it's for our spirit's growth. And each time we have a life here, we get to express that. So one life, one life you may be a male, and then the next life you may choose to be a female and know what it feels like to give birth or not have children at all. Okay, and that's like, hey, let's have a break. Who likes to care to raise 18 kids?
I might be on
And
my
there's some that do.
I might be on my childless iteration this go around. I was just at church today and I was in the restroom and I could hear a little kid crying just incessantly outside the restroom. And I was like, yeah, maybe no kids this time around. I'm still not sure.
And and again, I just have to say, I honor everyone's journey. This is a journey. This is a school,
Hmm.
in a sense.
Hmm.
Um, it's like you can see patternings in your life. If there's patternings in your life, then you've missed the lesson. So if
Ooh,
you're repeating something and repeating something, then you've missed the lesson. Look again, search, seek, ask those questions. You can do prayer, meditation. I mean, there's so many different ways. Again, it's a change in perception. And when you holding on, I think one of the hardest things that people have is to challenge their own belief structures. Truly, I do. And this is why I chose to be on your show, because you're starting this anew. You're asking those questions, you're searching. And I think it's a perfect opportunity to present something and maybe give, seeds for thought.
thank you so much. And what you said about patterns, it really resonates with me because it can feel like you're banging your head against a wall, learning the same life lessons over and over. So if you are seeing a pattern, that is a sign that there's a lesson there you need to learn. Would a feeling of deja vu also indicate such?
I think deja vu is, or vujade, how would you like to say? I think it's just a glitch in the time frame continuum, and again, time is collapsing, and so it's like, this is why I'm saying all of that information can be accessed, like as you asked that question, me as a young child with the ancient one of who I was, I can access that very easily. It's like, um, so deja vu. I just think it's there's always this moment in time, whether you can look at the future or the past or whatever. It's always right now. So if you're thinking about the past, it's right now. If you're thinking about the future, it's right now. It's just present moment. And sometimes we get a chance to have a glimpse of that and we bring it back to us. Remember, I said there's ways of consciousness you can bring that information to you. And like I did when I was a kid, whether I actually consciously in my consciousness, sent my consciousness there, recorded the information my family or my father or mother were talking about. Um, yeah, I was kind of directed not to do that after a while.
Hmm.
They caught on.
How could people find you online, Shadow Fox, if they want to connect? Are you totally private, or would you like to share an email or a website?
Um, Actually, I am on X. I host the Journey Within Spaces. It's at 2C Shadow Fox.
Great.
On X, and we do have a website. It's artisansofthespirit.com,
Beautiful.
and you can put the link up for the our book for spiritual logic behind the power of words and beliefs, energy's universal language, and that we are, my husband and I together are artisans of the spirit, and I am C Shadow Fox.
Wonderful. And I'm going to need to do some energy work on my laptop charger. And hopefully, I don't have to buy a fourth one, but I don't know what it is. Maybe it's time for a new computer. Thank you so much for being here today. God bless you. And thanks for sharing your experience.
Thank you.